Welcome to my video for Tag Along With Me number 4. Today I'm going to show you how I made this tag. To make it, you require a tag, either manila or cream or whatever you'd like. I cut mine out of cream. Some die cuts of Christmas trees or evergreen trees, 2 of them. Tim Holtz Distress Ink in black soot, ice spruce, evergreen bough, festive berries. You need an applicator with sponges. You need ribbon, scissors, adhesive, distress crackle paint in clear, white acrylic paint of some sort, glue dots, dimensionals, white cardstock, and I used 2 Stampin' Up! Stamp sets. This one, which is called Serene Snowflakes, and this is a very old one, and I don't even know what it's called, Penguin Pals, I believe. And you need dimensionals. Okay, to get started, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your non-stick craft sheet. Now, if you don't have one, you can work on wax paper or parchment. And you're going to take your 2 greens, your ice spruce and your evergreen bough. Make sure your craft sheet is clean. This doesn't look clean, but it really is. And you're going to apply ink generously to the craft sheet. Try not to let them touch each other. Then you're going to spritz with water. You can get a mister. I just use an old hairspray bottle. Now you're going to take your tag and you're going to smoosh it through the ink. Now every time it's going to turn out a little bit differently, because your pattern of the ink is not going to be exactly the same. Now you can see I'm missing a little bit here. I'm going to put a little bit more of my spruce, another spritz of water, and drag this tag through. There you go. Now you can set it to dry. If you want, you can heat set it, and that's what I'm going to do. I'll be back in a minute when it's dry. Okay, after it's good and dry, here's the next step. Take your snowflake stamp, and I use the small trio from Serene Snowflakes, and your acrylic paint. Now I have a paint dauber, but you can just use regular paint if you want. And what you're going to do is you're going to stamp snowflakes all over. Okay, we're going to set this tag aside for a second and we're going to work on the trees. I want you to take your 2 chipboard trees and whichever green you want, and I'm using the evergreen bough because I like that bright green. And you're going to directly rub the ink onto the trees. Okay, now that that's done, I want you to take your heat gun and I want you to dry them really, really well. Okay, for the next step, we're going to take this tag and your trees and the crackle paint, give it a little bit of a shake because it is paint, and then we're going to paint quickly over all of these items. Now don't worry if it's not even, it's just going to crackle a little bit less even, that's all. Now you won't even notice your brush marks or anything like that when it's dry. Now you're going to do the trees. Don't worry if you miss a spot. It'll just crackle unevenly, which is kind of cool. Okay, now you're going to have to let this dry. You cannot use the heat gun until after the paint has started to crackle itself. So give yourself a good probably 20 minutes before you come back to it. So I'm just going to let it sit and dry, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Now that all your crackle is dry, and make sure that it is good and dry, you're going to take your applicator and one of your inks. I'm going to use the spruce kind this time, and you're just going to start rubbing over your tag. Now rub it in good, and what you should see are some little crackles happening. They're very fine. If you want thicker crackles, you have to put on a thicker coat of crackle paint. That's kind of cool. Now I'm going to try add a little bit of the green on top. Oops, forgot my applicator. And because this green is a little bit darker, you really see the crackles. It's really very cool. Now you can also take, while you're at it, and work in very well around the edges, just to give your tag some dimension. Okay, I think I like that for the tag. Now you're going to do exactly the same thing with the black on the trees. And then you're just going to take and rub off some of the excess, and it just gives your trees a little bit of texture. I think I have to clean up this edge just a little bit. And you see some cracks and some texture in your tree. Now, what I also did was I sponged around the edges of my trees. Now, if you have any little hairy, grungy parts, you can pull them off. There, your trees are looking good. Now we're all set to do the final work on the tag. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take a ribbon, and I like this little red gingham ribbon. It's kind of Christmassy, but it also gives just a little pop of color to your tag. What I did was I cut off a piece a little bit bigger than the tag, used some adhesive, and folded my ribbon around the back. Oops, make sure it's straight though, not like I did. Okay, then I took and used the ribbon right off the spool and made a little tiny bow. Then I took a glue dot and attached the bow to the ribbon. Retie it a little bit tighter if you want. I like it that way. Okay, now we're going to take and stick our trees on. Now what I did with my trees is I made them sort of overlapping. You can do whatever you want. The bottom tree, I used adhesive. And this has to be a good sticking adhesive. And then the tree that I put on top, I used a little bit of dimensionals at the bottom of the tree. In my case, I just used the remnants from around the edge of the dimensional sheet. And I used adhesive on the top. In that way, the trees are going to overlap, but the bottom one is not going to fold down. There you go. Okay, now to make the banner, I took just a plain old piece of white cardstock and I stamped it with the sentiment from the Penguin Pals die, or stamp set. And I used the Festive Berries ink. Okay, I took and I trimmed it with my paper trimmer so that the banner wasn't too big. I had to trim both top and bottom. I didn't plan that out very well. Sorry about that. That's looking good. I took and cut a point in this end so that it actually did look like a banner. And on my other one I rounded the edge, but I don't have to on this one. I'm going to see what it looks like without. I took my green ink and just lightly went around the edges just to give it a little bit of dimension so it didn't get lost. Put some dimensionals on this end. And some adhesive on the square end. And stuck it over my trees. Whoops, forgot to peel the back off the dimensionals. Silly me. And stuck it over my tree. The only thing left to do, if you wanted to, was to take a button and some twine or some thread. I use this twine. Tie a knot. And then stick it on with a glue dot. And you are done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you give some of these techniques a try. Thanks for watching. Bye.